Counter-terrorism operations continue in Judea and Samaria. An IDF officer was sadly killed by friendly fire near the town of Tulkarem. The U.S. State Department is set to give a visa to the president of Iran for a speech at the UN General Assembly in September. The parties of Itamar, Ben-Gvir, and Betzalel Smotrich are planning to run separately in the upcoming elections, and more threats from the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. I'm Justin, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Good morning, guys. It's a beautiful day today. Thanks for joining me on the show today. Make sure to like and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so that you never miss an episode of the Israel Guys. We're coming to you 3 times a week now, so you definitely want to subscribe now so you never miss any episodes. Guys, more counterterrorism operations are continuing in the towns of Judea and Samaria. Just Monday night, the IDF were at it again with counterterrorism in lots of towns, including Silwad, where they apprehended 5 wanted suspects, and they also confiscated a bunch of illegal weapons. They also worked in Hebron and Akraba, where they apprehended 4 additional wanted suspects and found more weapons. They also went into the Disha camp to apprehend a wanted suspect, and they were able to confiscate more weapons. But during the activity in the Disha camp, dozens of Palestinian Authority Arabs actually instigated a violent riot where they hurled rocks and Molotov cocktails at the soldiers, to which the soldiers responded with riot dispersal means, including .22 caliber rounds. So overall, Monday night, a total of 12 suspects were apprehended throughout the night, and suspects and confiscated illegal weapons were transferred to security forces for further processing. No injuries were reported among the IDF. Thank God. They're doing their job and doing it very well. But sadly, near the town of Tulkarem, an IDF officer was killed by friendly fire. Preliminary investigation of the incident found that some soldiers were on duty near a post, on duty in a post near Tulkarem. One of the soldiers left the post, and when he returned, his friend mistakenly thought that it was an armed terrorist and shot him. The soldier was taken to the hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. Actually, initially, the IDF reported that terrorists opened fire in the area. I actually saw on the news where it said that terrorists had opened fire and that they had shot one of the terrorists, but it later turned out that it was one of the IDF officers, and he was killed by the friendly fire. It was found that he was Staff Sergeant Natan Fitoussi. According to an IDF spokesperson, quote, Staff Sergeant Fitoussi was posthumously promoted from the rank of sergeant to the rank of Staff Sergeant. He will be missed in Israel. Guys, as crazy as this may sound, the U.S. State Department is planning to give a visa to the Iranian president for his UN speech in September. So they're going to give a visa to Ibrahim Raisi, otherwise known as the Butcher of Tehran in Iran, a very evil person. But he needs a visa so he can speak at the UN General Assembly in September. 7 Republican senators sent a letter on August 2nd to President Joe Biden urging him to deny this visa, and for good reason. This guy is called the Butcher of Tehran. Just hear that name. It should tell you something. Very evil person. In 1988, he was on a committee of 4 that killed approximately 30,000 political prisoners within 5 months. They even sometimes used horrible tortures and cruelty, all kinds of evil. This guy is not good. He supports many barbaric practices, and he's also saying, even now, obviously he didn't repent for his time in 1988 when he killed all these people, but now he's saying he should be honored and esteemed for his role in the Iranian mass executions. This guy has also threatened Israel and the U.S. multiple times. Just in April this year, Raisi warned that Israel will be targeted by his country's armed forces if it makes the slightest move against Iran. Now the U.S. is giving him a visa. The senators who wrote this letter to Biden, they said, quote, Raisi's involvement in mass murder in the Iranian regime's campaign to assassinate U.S. officials on American soil make allowing Raisi and his henchmen to enter our country an inexcusable threat to national security. So what they're talking about here with the assassination of U.S. officials is recently the United States Justice Department announced charges against a member of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps for an assassination plot against former U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton. Also, various reports indicated former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, former Defense Secretary Mark Esper, and former State Department Special Representative for Iran Brian Hook have also been targeted for killing, along with some other current officials. When asked about this, why they're giving them a visa, a State Department spokesperson said that they are generally obligated under the United Nations Headquarters Agreement to facilitate travel by UN member representatives. Right. He said, quote, "We take our obligations under the UN Headquarters Agreement seriously. At the same time, the Biden administration has not and will not waver in protecting and defending all Americans against threats of violence and terrorism." But this is ridiculous. They can reject this visa if they want, because according to a news article I was reading, 3 other U.S. presidents have rejected visas to basically evil people, like terrorists who have murdered many people. In 2020, Donald Trump rejected a visa for the Iranian foreign minister, Javad Zarif. And in 2014, Barack Obama turned down a visa request from the Iranian ambassador to the United Nations. And Ronald Reagan denied a visa to PLO chairman Yasser Arafat in order to attend the UN General Assembly, so they could reject this visa, but it doesn't look like they are right now. Also, former U.S. ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, very supportive of Israel. She called on the Biden administration to deny these visas. She said, quote, "The world's leading state sponsor of terror attempted to assassinate American officials inside our country. Under no circumstances should the Biden administration allow Raisi to set foot in our country." I believe she's 100% right. Under no circumstances should the Biden administration be letting this terrorist and this murderer enter the United States and giving him a visa. Guys, moving along, Itamar Ben-Gvir is apparently he's running alone. He's planning to run alone in the next elections. We talked about it before. He was planning a joint run with religious Zionism chairman Betzalel Smotrich, but now he cut ties with him. He announced Monday evening that his party would run alone in the upcoming elections for the 25th Knesset instead of running together with religious Zionism, following a breakdown in negotiations, apparently. So the religious Zionism party chairman, Betzalel Smotrich, he had his offer basically with Ben-Gvir included places number 2, 5, 9, and 10 on the religious Zionism party list for Otzma Yehudit. But I guess that wasn't good enough for Ben-Gvir. He wasn't happy with this because he was demanding that he receive 3 spots in the top 7 instead of 2, which Betzalel Smotrich's offer had. So Ben-Gvir, he said that Smotrich did not conduct the negotiations seriously, and that polls showed the religious Zionism and Otzma Yehudit parties would actually receive more votes if they ran separately. But Betzalel Smotrich is not very happy about this. He said, quote, "In the midst of a family vacation in the north, I'm saddened to hear from the media about the intention of my friend Itamar to announce this evening a split from religious Zionism and split off for an independent run." The Knesset elections are coming up pretty fast. Be interesting to see what's going to happen, but continue to pray for the government of Israel, that strong leaders for Israel would be rise up in the government and be able to form a strong government. There hasn't been a strong government in Israel for a while to be able to stand up to international pressure and to put down terrorism and show a strong hand against terrorism. Guys, a top Palestinian Islamic Jihad official, he's now saying that they're preparing for the next round of fighting against Israel. Apparently, they didn't learn their lesson in this last war with Israel. Khaled al-Bach, he's a member of the political bureau of the Islamic Jihad. He warned Israel against eliminating other senior members of the terrorist organization. which actually started the whole war with Gaza when they took out a leader of the terrorist organization. He said that the military arm of the Islamic Jihad, the Al-Quds Brigade, will not hesitate to respond to any assassination of any Palestinian leader. He said, quote, "The campaign against the enemy is not carried out in a victorious blow and is not measured by the number of martyrs, but is rather a campaign for justice, and it is tested by the degree of our ability to stand firm and keep our breath and protect the rights and adhere to them." He also emphasized the need to prepare from now on for the next round of combat that will occur whenever there is a need to defend any arena or respond to any assassination. Apparently, they didn't learn their lesson that if they strike Israel, Israel will strike back and retaliate specific military posts and hit back strong. Guys, let us know what you think in the comments below. We love to interact with you and to see what you think about all the news going on in Israel and throughout the world, and we love to answer your questions. So if you have any questions, make sure to drop them in the comments. Guys, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening in the land of Israel. We'll be back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.